Okay, good evening everyone. Welcome. Thank you very, very, very much for joining us for the learning of Teres Hashem Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. As we welcome in Shimon Klein, Shimon Deer, Ruin Pollack, Stephen Holtzman, Mel Zachter, Marshall Castle, Menachem Umansky, Ben Zion Cohn, Irving Fishbaum, Shalom Fogel, Michael Baruch Ian, Dr. Guy, Nachman Chapler, Aaron Swade, Moshe Lima, Yitz Fuchs, Robert Kranz, Dr. Black, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Naftali Javelin. Here in Shul, we have Berish Gesserman, Reb Kramer, Reb Schechter, what's your last name? Reb Rosenberg, Ruben Shannon, Saba, and we have David Helfgott on Kolaloshin. I got some not pleasant news to share with the Olam. We were all on such a high that Barry was joining us. Azriel, his son, called me up this afternoon. He took a stumble on steps, and he hit his head. He broke his clavicle and some ribs, and he has a little bleed from hitting his head. So he's in critical care now in Staten Island University Hospital. We're going to have him in mind, Pinchas Menachem Ben Leah. Pinchas Menachem Ben Leah, he should get back to us quickly. Yeah. By the neck. And anyway, Marshall is in the clear because he was hundreds of miles away, so he didn't push him. For those that were thinking,
didn't trip over my cow or something?
Yeah, but anyway, also our Chaver Adaf, Elia Yafi, who his 7-year-old grandchild is having a kidney transplant tomorrow. 7-year-old grandchild is having so that Shendel Tema Bas Rachel's Lata should have a refuah shalema b'sech shechel Yisrael. So we have a lot of homework to do here tonight. Have in mind with our learning Pinchas Menachem Ben Leah and Shendel Tema Bas Rachel's Lata. And Irving asked us to learn for his nephew, and that's Meir Ben Yehuda Chaim, his neshama should have an aliyah. And we are sponsored by A.B. Spry, that he's sponsoring the Bavas, that all of his children should be healthy Bavas, and also sponsored by Michal Avram Chavin, Lahagdil Torah Ulahadira. We are holding by Umi Ika, 3 lines from the bottom of Daf Yud Amid Beis. 3 lines from the bottom of Daf Yud Amid Beis. Umi Ika Laman Yamar Chotzer Lav Mishum Yoda is Rabbi. Is there a question whether Chotzer is Mitam Yad, that you're saying that maybe it's Mitam Shlichas, but we see Beferish by Get that it's Mitam Yad. But Tanya Yoda, it says by a woman only if you put the hand in the get in her hand. How do we know the rooftop, the courtyard, the enclosure, that if you put it in it, she's divorced? And v'nasan means that it's considered her yad even if it's in the chotzer. So you see that chotzer is mitam yad, not mitam shlichus. Says, you're right. The Indian get kuli alma loy pligi the chotzer mishum yodis, Rabbi. Everybody holds by get. It's considered like her hand. Ki pigi the Indian Metzia. The question is whether we learn out mumminess, a fine from Isser. Marsavar, one holds as we start the top of Yud Aleph, as we welcome in Yehuda from Yerushalayim for our 25th Zoomer of the evening. Marsavar Yalfinon Metzia Meget. We learn out a lost article from Get. We learn out Mummin from Isser. Or Marsavar Lo Yalfinon Metzia Meget. V'Iba Yisema, others say, B'Ketana, by a girl, by a minor girl, which is similar to a woman get, kuli almalei pligi di alfina mitzia meget. V'hacha b'cotton kamifli, a minor cotton. Remember, we said it's an afkamina because if kotzer is mitam shlichus, a cotton doesn't have shlichus. A cotton does have a yad. So the question is, do we learn out cotton from katana? Ma'asav yalfinon cotton mikatana. Ma'asav lo yalfinon cotton mikatana. V'iba is saying that there's really no machloikis here at all. Mar amar chada or mar amar chada v'loy pligi. One is talking about get. By get, it's mitam yad. And one is talking about metzia. Metzia is mitam shlichus, and they're not arguing. Or, Rashi says another pshat, one is talking about a cotton, one is talking about a katana, and they're not arguing. Now we start the new Mishnah, just getting underway on a beautiful Sunday evening. By the way, Rabbi Isai, after the daf, we're going to be learning a chak, a short chak, because it's a chak of a Yom Shishi, so that's the shortest of the chaks. Instead of having 8 disciplines, it's only 5 disciplines.
We're undisciplined because Barry's not here?
But it is not so easy because the Mishnah is, as you know, on the 6th day is Taharis, and it's the 10th parak of Mishnah's Para, so it's a little bit challenging, it's a little bit unusual, and of course, like Nachman says, more rewarding. Lefum tzara agra. New Mishnah. Roi son rotzin achar metzira. If I see Marshall running after a lost article, what kind of a lost article? Achar tzvi shavar, a wounded deer. Achar gazela shaloi porchu, a pigeon that's not flying well. And I see that it's passing through my courtyard. So v'amar, I yell, forget it, Marshall, zachsali sadai. My field should be zeichenet for me, because it's passing through my field before Marshall gets up to it. Zachsalai. My field acquires it for me. However, tzvi ratz kedarkai, if it was a deer running in its usual swift way, or there are pigeons flying, so my field will not contain them. I let my field acquire it. I say nothing, because my field is not going to stop them. And if it's not going to stop it, it doesn't acquire it for me. On the other hand, if Marshall jumps and grabs it out of the air, then of course Marshall gets it. But Marshall can't do that, of course. I'm just saying hypothetically. Now, the Gemara says, even in the case where it's a wounded deer, where it's a bird whose wings are malfunctioning, the only time my field will acquire it for me is only if I'm standing by the side of the field. Because it's only then that it's a chatzar hamishtameres. If I'm not standing by the field, then the field is not going to acquire for me. And that's what Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, V'husha Aimei B'tzad Tzadei. It's because I'm standing next to my field. Saying, well, why do I have to be standing next to my field? V'tikna leisadei. Why can't my field acquire it for me without me standing there? A person's courtyard acquires for him even without his knowledge. Says that's only a field that's protected. So if a field is protected and something falls inside my protected field, then I acquire it. But obviously, if the deer is running through my field, just like it could run through my field, it could run outside of my field. So, but a field that's not protected, it's only going to acquire it for me. If I'm standing next to the field, yes. And if not, not. So the Gemara says, how do I know this? How do I know that a field that's not guarded, if I'm standing next to the field, it acquires in Iloiloi, but if not, not. The Tanya, this is a very interesting proof. This is the Lashonos are over here are a little bit unusual. The Tanya Ha'ya'aymed Be'ir, Ruvain, who is known to have a field with a lot of grain. And if you don't know about it, you don't know Reuven that well, right? He was only a public school teacher on the side, That was only a sidekick. But doesn't he look like a rancher to you? Right? So the Tanya, if Reuven is standing in the city, I know that a sheaf that I have in the field, my workers forgot them. Lo yehi shikha. It shouldn't be considered shikha. Yacha lo yehi shikha. I might think that's enough that he says it in the city that it shouldn't be shikha, even if when he gets back to the field, he forgets about it. Got to plug something in over here. Got to keep an eye on all of these connections. Talmud Loimer, the pasuk says, "Shvishachachta oimer basada," and he forgot the oimer in the field. Basada v'shachachta. The critical area is in the field, v'loy be'ir. So the Gemara says, ha gufakasha, amrit yachal lo yeshikha. You say that I would think that it's not shikha. Alma have a shikha. And then it says that the critical point is in the field and not in the city. V'nasav la gemara b'sada v'shachachta. If you forgot it in the field, v'loy be'ir, and not in the city. Alma lo yave shikha. That means that what he does in the city doesn't count. Says the Gemara, what it means is as follows. El lav hachi kamer. B'sada in the field, shechuach me'ikroi have shikha. If he forgets it from the beginning, it's considered shikha. Zocher, if he notices the sheaf, and then he forgets about it, it's not shikha, ain't shikha. Why? My timer. The cave and the koi gaba, since he's by the field, as soon as he notices it, the courtyard, since he's oimed al gaba, acquires it for him. Havalei chatzei, right? It's a chatzei that he's oimed al gaba, v'zachzalei. And therefore he acquires it. So then even if he forgets it afterwards, it's too late because he already acquired it. Aval be'ir, but in the city, even if he remembers the Omer, it doesn't make a difference because in the city he's not Omer al Gabav, and therefore the Chatzah doesn't acquire it for him. Aval be'ir afilu zocher l'b'sai shechuach. Even if he remembers it in the city, but then when he comes back to the field, he forgets it, havishikha. Why? Because the fact that he remembered it in the city doesn't mean anything, because he wasn't standing next to his courtyard, and therefore it didn't acquire it for him. My timer, the lazy gabe, the lizkale. He wasn't there that he should be zeichen it. Says Mamai, who says that's pshat? Maybe it's just telling you a gezeris hakasav, that if you forget about it in the city, it's not considered shikha. That if you forget about it in the field, it's shikha. Says the Gemara, Amakra, the pasuk says, you shouldn't return to take it. And we learn out that you shouldn't return to take it, meaning the rabbi shikha se'ir, that even if you forgot about it in the city, that's already considered shikha. Says the Gemara, but that pasuk of lo yisashav l'kachta is just telling you the lav, that you're not allowed to take what you forgot. You shouldn't take it. My lo yisashav, that means the rabbi shikha se'ir, that if you forget about it in the city, it's considered shikha. We still need the lashon of lo yisashav to tell me that the only thing that's shikha is if you forget something that's behind you. If you forget something that's in front of you, that's not considered shikha. If you forget something in front of you, that's not considered forgetting. Shala'achrav, if you pass it and you forget it, yeh shikha. Because it says L'isoshav, you shouldn't return to it. Shehu b'bal toshav. Zaklal. Kol shehu b'bal toshav, anything that you pass and you would have to return back to, that's considered shikha. Kol she'einu b'bal toshav, if you forget it, but it's in front of you, so you don't have to turn back to it, einu shikha. Rav Ashi, but we still know that even in the city, because Amar Kro Yiyah, that Yiyah is extra, L'Rabbi Shikha Sa'ir. So therefore, what do we learn out from Leisoshav L'Kachta? We learn out from there that in the event that he forgets it, he acquires it in the field. He remembers it in the field. And then he forgets it, that's not shikha, because once he remembers it and he's standing there, the chotz is kaina because he's oimil al gabav. But if he remembers it in the field and then he forgets it, that doesn't count, because remembering in the field doesn't help because he's not oimil al gabav. V'chein amar ula, that if it's a chotz she'einu mishtameres, it'll only acquire from him v'hu she'oimid b'tzat tzadeu, if he's standing next to the field, as we welcome in Moshe Jacklin, v'chein Amar, and likewise v'chein Amar Rabba Baba Chana, v'usha Aymed b'tzat tzadei, that his field acquires for him when he's standing alongside the field. Now, Ruvain, maybe you should take yourself a coffee. It'll help you. Help you? No, it's in for some people it's already late in the night. Was it a long day today?
Yeah, I went to see very late last night. Very late.
Yeah, well, that's what happens on the night that we change the clock. We lose an hour. That's why.
Did I push it the wrong way?
Huh?
Did I push it the wrong way?
Yeah. Well, you pushed it sideways. There's certain people that they push the time sideways. Other people go forward or backward.
Like the Chinese.
Like the Chinese. Marshall is like the Chinese, right?
Chop suey.
Right. Now, this is a famous Gemara. What happened was, Rabbi Gamliel was traveling on a boat, and he remembered that he forgot to take off mices from the stuff that he had at home. And he was afraid that they would use it without it being tithed. So now he had to do long-distance tithing. Now, how do you do long-distance tithing? So let's see the Gemara inside. Eisvei Rababa L'ula, Ma'aseh Rabbi Gamliel v'Zakenim. There was an incident with Rabbi Gamliel and the elders. Sheyaboim b'svina. They were traveling in a boat. Amar Rabbi Gamliel. So Rabbi Gamliel said, Iser Shani, Truma he took already. So he said, Iser Shani Osid Lamed. The first Ma'aser that I'm going to take off, that's Ma'aser Rishon, which goes to the Levi. Noson Yeshua. I give it to Yeshua because Rabbi Yeshua was a Levi. I give it to Yeshua. Now, how is he giving it to him? How is he giving it to him? So he says, now the Gemara assumes that this, the Gemara assumes that this means that he's renting him the area underneath the grain. So therefore he inquires the grain because it's in his courtyard. The Easter, now it was either the 3rd or the 6th year of the Shemitah cycle. So during the 3rd or the 6th year of the Shemitah cycle, the second Meiser is Meiser Ani. So he was giving it to Rabbi Kiva, who was the Gabbai for the Aniyim. So the Easter Achar Shani Osir Lamud, and the next 10th that I'm going to take off, that I'm going to measure, Nasan Akiva ben Yosef, he's giving it to Rabbi Akiva, in order that he should be zeicha in it for the poor, since he was the Gabbai Tzedakah, And again, u'mekaymai muskalai. So now, if they're going to acquire it as chatzir, but how could they acquire it as a chatzir? They're not oimid al gabav. They're not standing there. V'chi Rabbi Yeshua, v'chi Rabbi Akiva, b'tzad tzadeu, shor Rabbi Gamliel oimdin. So how does it work? If you need it to be oimid al gabav, but they're not oimid, they're in the boat. They're nowhere near the place that was rented to them. Amalei, so he said, Domi Haimid Rabbanan. This rabbi that's asking, this Rababa, who's asking this kasha, Kidoloi Gamrei in Sheishmait. It's as if he didn't learn the sugya. But the Gemara doesn't explain what he meant. Ki asal the surah, when Rababa came to surah, Amalahu, he said, Hachi Amri Ula, he said that this is what Ula said, the Hachi Osvise, and this is the kasha I asked, and they said it's like I didn't learn a sugya. Amalei Ahum Rabbanan, so a certain rabbi answered, you don't understand. He didn't mean that he was renting the place to Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Akiva, that it should be acquired by being in their courtyard. That doesn't work, because it's not Oimel al Gabav. That's not what it meant. He meant he was using the kinyan of Agav. The din is that you could acquire metaltalin. If you acquire real estate, you get all the metaltalin Agav the real estate. Says the Gemara, Amalei Ahum Rabbanan, Rabbi Gamliel metaltalei Agav mikarkoi hiknalam. Rabbi Akiva was transferring, remember I told you, if I want to sell Berish 100 bowling balls, and he doesn't want to make Mashicha on 100 bowling balls, that's tiring. I could rent him my laundry room, and once he acquires my laundry room, he gets the 100 bowling balls with the kinyan of Agav. So here he rented him a piece of real estate, and Agav the real estate, he gets the meiser. Amalei Omer Rabbanan Rabbi Gamliel metaltalei Agav mekarkoi hiknalehem. Rabbi Zera Kibla, Rabbi Zera accepted this teretz. Rabbi Abba loy Kibla. Rabbi Abba didn't accept it. So Rava says, Shaper Ovid deloy Kibla. It's good that he wasn't mekabelit, because if you just wanted to acquire the meiser, why didn't he make a kinyan suda? Rabbi Yeshua should have given Rabbi Gamliel a handkerchief, and in lieu of the handkerchief, Rabbi Yeshua should have gotten a meiser rishon. Rabbi Akiva should have given Rabbi Gamliel a handkerchief, and in lieu of the handkerchief, he should have gotten the meiser ani. That's called kinyan chalipin. So why didn't he do that? The reason he didn't do that is because the truth of the matter is, Rabbi Gamliel really didn't own the meiser. The meiser belongs to the Levi. The meiser ani belongs to the poor. The only thing he owned is the toivus hana, the choice which one to give it to. Toivus hana is too negligible to transfer with the kinyan suda. Since toivus hana is too negligible to transfer with a kinyan suda, so therefore Rav Abba held it was too negligible to transfer with kinyan agav also. Let's see it inside. Amar Rava, Shaper of it deloy Kibla. It's good that he didn't accept it. Why didn't Rabbi Gamliel acquire it with a? Why didn't Rabbi Gamliel transfer it with a kinyan suda? B'chalipin. Ela toivus hana, the negligible ownership that Rabbi Gamliel had just to choose which Levi to give it to, eina mammon liknois mimenu b'chalipin. That's not money to transfer chalipin. And therefore, achanami toivus hana eina mammon liknois al gabi karka. Says Gemara V'lohi, but that's not true. Matnas kahuna, gifts of kahuna, nesina ksivable. It says a lotion of giving. Chalipin, derech mekach or memkeru. Chalipin is only by a business deal. This is not a business deal. So therefore, chalipin wouldn't work. Metaltalin agav karka, metaltalin agav karka, nesina alimtahi is a good way of giving, and therefore it would work even over here. Rapapa says no, we'll go back to the original pshat. That Rabbi Gamliel was renting them the area underneath the Meiser. They're not Oimer al Gaba. When do you need Oimer al Gaba? That's when it's a Metzia. When somebody isn't giving it to you. Then you need Oimer al Gaba. Here, Rabbi Gamliel is giving it to them. You don't need Oimer al Gaba. It's different when somebody is giving it to you. Simra. How do we know this? The Tanan, Roy son rotzen acha Metzia. If you see them running after the Metzia and you say that your courtyard should acquire it, that's if he runs after it, umagion, and he reaches the side of the courtyard. What about if it's a gift? By a gift, you don't have to be oimed al gabav. My timer, what's the reason? It's different when somebody else is marking it to you. Says Gemara, wait a second. What about by a get? A get is das acheres maknaisan. Husband is giving the get to his wife. And yet it says that the chutzner only acquires if she's oimed al gabav. Says Rav Shimon Rav Papa, this is a big kasha, as we welcome in Avi Poland, who is joining us. Amalei Rav Shimon Rav Papa, I get the das acheres maknaisa, the husband is giving the get to his wife. V'amar ula, v'hum she'omed b'tzad beisa, that's only if she's standing alongside the house, or b'tzad chatzera. Says, get is different because it's given against her will. Shani get to Isei Balkar. So the Gemara says, that's not a good difference. To the contrary, if it's given against her will, it should be easier to acquire. You don't even need her consent. If she's standing there, yes. Matana. The medate, matana, that's only with one's consent, right? You can't force a gift on somebody. Loy kol shechein, that it should be only if he's standing there alongside. And Amar Rav Ashi, you have to understand. Chotzer is raboy mishum yad. Chotzer is like her hand. V'loy gara mishlichus. It's not any less than shlichus. Now we know that you could be zeicha for a person if it's shaloi b'fanav. But you can't be chavin for a person shaloi b'fanav. A get is a chayv for a woman. She loses her mezainas. And tavla meisiv tandu milameisiv armelu. She'd rather live two bodies than alone. So get is a chayv for her. So you can't do it without her being there. Gabi get the chayvula, ein chavin la'adam ela b'fanim. She has to be there. Gabi matana is a schus. So there, matana, the schus ulay zachem la'adam shaloi b'fanim. And even though it's a chatzir she'ein mishtameres, if it's das acheres makna isa, it could be done even if they're not there. Now, Rabbi said we did the Mishnah Yomis already, and we're going to go straight into a chak. I'm going to ask Barish if you could get me the green screen.